I never imagined that a simple family visit could turn my life upside down. Above me, Carla, 42 years old, has always been an example of a dedicated wife and mother. Married for 20 years to Marcos, we raised two wonderful daughters, Julia, 18, and Beatriz, 16. Our home was the portrait of a perfect family, or at least that's what I thought. Everything changed when my nephew Felipe came to visit us. When he was 23 years old, he was the image of youth and vitality. Hope, strong, with a smile that lit up any room. Felipe was my older brother who lived in another city. Had been years since we hadn't seen him. The transformation from the boy I knew to the man who came to my door took me completely, exclaimed the unsuspecting Aunt Carla, wrapping me in a tight hug, her body firm against mine, sending an unexpected wave of heat down my spine. Felipe, how have you grown? I pulled away, although a little, trying to ignore the strange feeling that hug had caused. The first few days of Felipe's visit were calm. He spent some time with his cousins, talking about college and his plans for the future. Marcos was away on a work trip, so it was just me and the girls. And Felipe was home. It was a warm summer night when everything changed. I had the habit of walking around the house in my nightgown before going to bed, checking to make sure everything was in order. It had never been a problem since the girls were used to it, and Marcos rarely did. I was home at that time. I was in the kitchen drinking a glass of water when I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and saw Felipe standing in the doorway, his eyes roaming over my body in a way that made me blush. Instantly, "I'm sorry," my aunt murmured to her, her voice hoarser than usual. "I just came to get a glass of water." Suddenly, I realized how transparent my nightgown was under the kitchen light. I crossed my arms over my head. "Felipe, make yourself at home." He came closer, and the small space of the kitchen seemed to shrink until the more he could feel the heat emanating from her body. He heard her breathing slightly. Accelerated, Felipe commented in a low and intense voice, "You are so beautiful," before he could react. Their lips were together. The kiss was intensely passionate, unlike anything he had experienced before. For a moment, I got lost in feeling my body responding in a way that scared me and excited me at the same time. Then the reality of what we were doing, it hit me like a lightning bolt. I pushed Felipe away, panting and surprised by this can't happen," I said, my voice trembling, and took a step back. "Your eyes are dark. I know you felt it too, Aunt. We can't deny it." I left them hurriedly, my heart beating so hard I thought it was going to explode. As it happened to me that I couldn't stand Felipe's lips on mine, with his love, his body on mine. I knew it was wrong, that it was forbidden, but a part of me longed. But what followed was an hour of torture. I crossed paths with Felipe in the house. The tension between us was palpable. I tried to avoid it, occupying myself with the girls and with the household chores, but it was impossible to ignore his presence. The desire that grew between us. One afternoon, while the girls they were at school, I found myself alone with Felipe. The first was folding clothes again in the laundry room when he came in. Closing the door, Aunt Carla said in a low and intense voice, "We need to talk." I felt my heart race. "There's nothing to say, Felipe. What happened was a mistake." He got closer, and I stepped back. I felt the washing machine behind me. "It wasn't a mistake," he insisted, "that you felt it too. I know you felt it." And his eyes were fixed on mine, full of a mixture of desire and vulnerability that disarmed me completely. Before I could respond, his lips found mine again. This time, I didn't have the strength to resist the kiss. It was passionate and urgent. Years of repressed desire exploding in a moment of pure madness. My hands found his muscular chest. Well, theirs explored my body with an urgency that left me breathless. "This is crazy," you murmur. "I know," Felipe responded, his hands sliding down my back. "But I can't stay away from you." At that moment, all reason, all morality I knew seemed to melt away. We made love right there in the laundry room. The sound of the washing machine drowning out our moans was wrong. It was forbidden, but it was intense and passionate, like nothing I had ever experienced before. After that, the reality of what we had done fell upon us like a crushing weight. Well, away from Felipe, fixing my clothes with my hands. Unsteady. "This can't happen again." My voice was broken. Felipe nodded, but his eyes told a different story. "I know, Auntie, but I don't know if I can, but I promise." The days that followed were roller coasters of emotions. We tried to keep up appearances in front of the girls, but every moment alone was filled with sexual tension and guilt. We found ways to be alone for a stolen moment in the courtyard, an accidental encounter in the hallway late at night. Every night we were together, desire always won. The situation got even more complicated when Marcos called saying he would be back earlier. I anticipated the guilt I felt, intensified, mixed with a paralyzing fear of being discovered the day before Marcos's return. Felipe and I met in the back garden. Later everyone had gone to sleep. "Let's do it," I asked, feeling tears form in my eyes. Felipe, the first, she pulled him into a tight and comforting hug. "I don't know, Auntie. I only know this. I don't want to lose you. But this can't go on," I answered, my voice agitated. "We have to stop. We made love one last time that night. The stars, each touch, each kiss filled with goodbye. We tried to memorize every detail, each sensation, knowing it would be the last time." The next morning the atmosphere was heavy. Felipe announced he would return to his city. Before claiming an emergency at the university, the students were disappointed, but I felt a mixture of relief and pain. When the time came, Felipe left. We hugged briefly in front of the girls. "Thank you for everything, Auntie," he said, his voice full of meaning. Hidden. "Take care, Felipe," I replied, feeling my heart race. I watched Felipe's car leaving, taking with it a part of me. I never knew this existed. I knew that nothing would be the same again. My marriage, my family, my identity, everything was shaken by this forbidden passion. Marcos arrived that night, tired but happy to be home. As I hugged him, I felt a pang of guilt so strong that I almost choked. "Is everything okay, my dear?" he asked. Noticing my expression, I forced a smile. "Of course I'm tired. How was it? Your journey in the days and weeks that passed?" I tried to reintegrate myself into my normal life as a wife, mother, housewife, but there was a constant shadow in my thoughts, a memory of what it was to make love to Felipe that refused to go away. Family gatherings became a challenge. Every time I saw Felipe, my heart was racing. We exchanged glances full of meaning, brief moments of contact that seemed to burn my skin. It was a sweet torture, a constant reminder of what we had lived through and what we could never have more. Months passed. I tried to convince myself that what happened with Felipe was just a temporary madness, a moment of weakness. I dedicated myself more to my marriage. I tried to be the perfect wife. I always, in the silent night when everyone was asleep, I found myself remembering those moments. Felipe's touch, his intense, passionate kisses, the way he made me feel alive and desired in a way I hadn't experienced in a long time. Experienced a year later, it happened that I received an invitation to Felipe's wedding. My heart sank. Read the elegant card. He was moving on, building his own life, and I was stuck in a limbo of desire and regret. On the wedding day in the church with Marcos, watching Felipe say his vows with his girlfriend, our eyes met for a brief moment during the ceremony, and I felt the full weight of our shared history. At the reception, we received a moment alone. "How are you, Aunt Felipe?" his voice asked softly. "Well," I lied. "And you happy?" He smiled, but there was a shadow in his eyes. "I'm trying to be, but I'll forget what we lived in." We were silent for a moment, the weight of everything, what we couldn't say, floating between. "We believe that one day it will happen?" I finally asked, my voice almost a whisper. Felipe sighed. "I don't know, maybe or maybe you have to learn to live with it." I shook my head, understanding perfectly what I wanted to say. What we had experienced had marked us in a way we could never erase. We went back to the party completely every day, someone following their path, carrying our secret like a weight invisible. Life continued. The people around us laughed and they celebrated, oblivious to the whirlwind of emotions that happened inside us today. Years after the intense summer, I look back and think about how those moments changed my life. The guilt is always still there, as well as regret for lies and because of the risk we took. But there is also a part of me that refuses to completely regret what I lived with. Felipe taught about the intensity of desire, about the complexity of love, and about the limits that society and morality impose on our emotions. It was wrong, it was dangerous, but it was also the most profound experience and transforming my life. Sometimes when I'm alone, I allow myself to relive those moments in my mind. The touch of yours delivers the warmth of your kisses, the connection that we feel is a bittersweet memory, a secret that I will carry. Felipe and I never speak openly about what happened again. It's a closed chapter. In our lives, a shared secret that unites and separates us at the same time. But sometimes when our eyes meet at a family gathering, I see in them the reflection of that passion that once consumed. I know that what we did was bad in the eyes of society, and morally I know that we ran the risk of destroying our family, but I also know that for a brief moment I experienced a love and a passion that many spend their entire lives without knowing. Maybe in the end this is the greatest lesson I learned, that love in all its forms is a powerful and unpredictable force that sometimes takes us to places we never imagined, making us question everything we thought we knew about ourselves. Myself, as I continue my life as a wife and mother, I carry with me the memories of that intense period. Constant reminder that life is complex, that love does not always follow the rules, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go, and so on. With the weight of this secret and the richness of this experience, I continue on my path, a woman marked by a forbidden passion, but determined to live each day fully, carrying with me the lessons of love, desire, and sacrifice that I learned that unforgettable summer with the arrival of my nephew. The seasons follow, they change, and I continue here, keeping a secret that changed everything, except that it also taught me the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and forgiveness, not only for others but mainly for myself. I look at myself, my family, my husband, my daughters, and I feel a mixture of deep love and persistent guilt. I've no idea the secret I keep about the internal battle I fight every day. Sometimes I wonder if one day I will be able to forgive myself completely. If one day I will be able to look at Felipe without feeling that pang of desire and regret. But then I remember that we are human, imperfect, and complex than love and desire. No, they always follow the rules society imposes, that sometimes our most controversial actions are the ones that they teach us the most about ourselves. And so I continue living for my family, to be the best person I can be. I carry with me the memory of this summer like a secret treasure, part of me than of anyone else. I know it is my burden, my blessing, my life lesson, because in the end that is what life is. Life, a series of choices, of moments that define us, with secrets that they shape, and I choose to live fully with all the contradictions and complexities that this implies, because that is what makes me human, what makes me who I am. And maybe one day when I am older and wiser, they can look forward, back without regret, only with understanding that each experience, each choice, each secret has brought me here to this moment in this life, this version of myself, and that in the end is all I can hope to live, love, learn, and above all forgive others and ourselves.